Yo, welcome to 2023 here at the Phantom Frequency Network, y'all, where we get into everything in the multiverse of pop culture, movies, anime, video games, music. We break it all down. We get into it all around these parts. So if you're new here, welcome. Click that subscribe button, man, and join our awesome nerdy community where we get into all these kind of fun discussions about everything we love the most in the world of entertainment. And today, we're going to be getting into my personal top 10 movies of 2022, y'all. All genres from January to December of 2022. We're going to get into it all, man. So, with no further ado, let's get into this thing. And here we go. Let's get into this top 10. And before we do, please remember, this is just my personal least to most favorite movie of 2022. Not an objective list, not an overall comprehensive list of every film that came out this year. Just remember, these are out of the 30-some, almost 40-some movies that I saw throughout the year and just my personal favorites. But I would love to hear your list. Drop yours down below. Would love to get into a discussion with y'all. And I love seeing where people's rankings are and how different and similar our rankings could be. We'd had a lot of fun discussion with our Kevin Smith ranking. Stranger Things, had a lot of fun with that stuff. So make sure y'all are sounding off in those comments below. But with no further ado, let's get into the honorable mentions. And I just got a few, and I really dug these movies in particular, but they just couldn't quite crack the top 10. And I'm talking about Jordan Peele's Nope is my first one. Nope was a lot of fun. Really dug the movie, but I thought the third act kind of lost its luster a little bit. Didn't quite hit as hard as the first two acts, so didn't quite make the top 10. Also, Ty West's X. Really dug that movie, especially one of my all-time favorite horror movies last year. Really dug that. Go check out my horror movie ranking. I'll drop that card somewhere up there so you guys can check that out after this video. But that ranked very high on my top 10 list of horror movies, but unfortunately didn't quite make the cut for the top 10. Had to make a cut somewhere, so I had to do it. Another one in the world of the MCU, Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness. Had a lot of fun with that movie. The Sam Raimi flavor was tailor-made for me. I'm a big Sam Raimi fan. Have been for literally 21 years, ever since the first Spider-Man. Love his stuff. Evil Dead trilogy, Drag Me to Hell, you name it. If it's Sam Raimi, I'm going to check it out. Really dug Multiverse of Madness. Did think it was a little disappointing in the overall reveal department and overall tie-ins of the MCU. Didn't really tie into a lot of the Disney Plus shows and a lot of the other source material and stuff that kind of goes into the MCU in Phase 4. So that was some of the stuff that kind of kept it off the top 10 list for me here. And the last one being Bullet Train from one of the co-directors of John Wick, David Leitch, also the director of Deadpool 2. He came through with this movie, A Bullet Train. It definitely had a Tarantino meets Guy Ritchie mixed with a little bit of the John Wick flavor mixed in there. But it's a hell of a lot of fun. Awesome cast. You got Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brad Pitt, Brian Tyree Henry, Joey King. A lot of great actors in this one. You got some really fun cameos as well. Dope-ass choreography, really fun dialogue, and actually really funny humor. Dope-ass cinematography. The whole Bullet Train setting in Japan is awesome, but just couldn't make the top 10. But let's get into number 10, and we're going to be getting into the latest and one of the coolest sequels I've seen in a while. I'm talking about James Cameron's long-awaited Avatar 2, a.k.a. Avatar: The Way of Water. And I gotta say, this was really good, man. I really dug this one. I actually went back and finally rewatched the original Avatar for the first time in literally, how many years had it been? 13 years. I hadn't watched that film since 2009 when it first came on TV, so maybe 2010, something like that. So it had been 12 to 13 years since I had seen the original Avatar, so I wanted to make sure to watch that before I went and saw The Way of Water a couple weeks ago, right before the holidays, or right after the holidays, actually, right before New Year's. And I watched the first one on Disney Plus, and I gotta say, I really dug that and enjoyed it way more than I did the first time I saw it. So maybe it was just, maybe my taste have changed. I don't know. Maybe my expectations were a lot lower, so it exceeded them this time around. But overall, I really enjoyed the first Avatar. So going into the second one, I wanted to definitely temper my expectations. Wasn't really hyped about it going into it. And if you asked me a year or any time before if this movie, The Way of Water, was going to make my top 10 of the year, hell nah. I would have been like, you're fucking crazy. But I got to say, it does. Now, it's not just the visual spectacle alone. That is a really, really big reason why, in the overall visuals and the way that it immerses you into the world and the overall world building as well, is so fucking well done. I gotta say, man, James Cameron and the team came through with those effects. It's crazy how 13 years later he's still able to just shock us all. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised by James Cameron by now, because he's one of the fucking goats, one of the freaking best filmmakers ever. Has not missed really yet. I don't think he has a single lame movie. I'm not a big Titanic guy, but I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. So I would say he has a pretty flawless track record if we disregard Piranha back in the day. But keep it on track here, the cast did such a great job in this film. Whether it was the newcomers and the kids, and Sigourney Weaver playing a kid version, or essentially the daughter of her character from the first film, that was a very impressive performance. Zoe Saldana came back and really did her thing. Sam Worthington was even stronger in this film than he was in the previous movie, and I dug Sam Worthington in the original. So his performance here and his whole entire arc and everything, I thought was really well done and even more compelling than the first film. That is for sure. And Kate Winslet's character and the guy that played her husband, I'm forgetting the name right now, forgive me, but they were really awesome in this movie, especially Kate Winslet. I couldn't even tell that was her, and not just because of the effects and the design of the character, but I legit could not tell that was her with the accent, the voice, nothing. So Kate Winslet fucking killed it on this one, and her being a James Cameron alumni kind of makes sense too. And overall, the score of the film is great. The cinematography and all that shit is great, obviously, in the locations or wherever they were at. But it's mostly CGI, as we all know. But the film itself, I thought, was just a little bit too long. And I did think there was some repetitive elements of the story that did get a little bit annoying to me as I watched the film. And I did think there was a few plot holes in there. Like, how does Sigourney Weaver had a character have a kid? And how the hell does Stephen Lang's character have a kid? And they were never mentioned or anything like that. And it seems like they kind of imply that Sigourney Weaver hooked up with the one guy that was supposed to be in the Avatar program with Sam Worthington's character of Jake Sully in the first film, the guy that's in The Guest. But I don't know. It just seems a little too loosey-goosey. Seems like a little bit too much of a retcon or contrivance just for this film to have everyone have a next generation for this movie going forward, to set up characters for the foreseeable sequels and all that stuff. So other than those elements that held it back, this was a really, really awesome movie, and it comes in at number 10. Getting into number 9, this was one of my most anticipated movies of the year right here from one of my favorite filmmakers, and that's right, I fucks with The Last Jedi, hashtag. Please don't get crazy in the comments, but I'm talking about Rian Johnson's latest whodunit, A Knives Out Mystery. The subtitle there, Glass Onion, the highly anticipated Knives Out sequel. At least for me, Knives Out was literally one of my favorite films of 2019. I absolutely adore that movie. I own it on Blu-ray. Me, my mom, and dad all own our own copies of this movie. We love this movie around this household. In this house, may the force be with you, the sign says, and in this house, may Knives Out be with you, because this movie, that movie, is fucking awesome, and Glass Onion is damn near as good, if not as good, in my humble opinion. Definitely loved the movie, had a fucking blast with this thing, man. And the new cast was a ton of actors that I was already a huge fan of, entertainers I was already a fan of, being two of those being Batista and Janelle Monáe, but both have become very, very good actors in their own right, and I would say damn great actors in their own right, especially Janelle Monáe in this thing, playing dual roles of Helen and Aaron. God damn, that woman killed it. And getting into some of the other people in the cast, man, fucking Daniel Craig, man. Him is Benoit Blanc. I'm telling you, is one of the most fantastic characters created in fiction in a long fucking time. Absolutely love that guy in this role. I cannot get enough of Benoit Blanc and his effortless chemistry with everyone in the cast. Catherine Hahn was really good in this thing. One of the characters that really stood out and I had a blast with was Kate Hudson's character. She was freaking hilarious in this thing. I had a blast with her as well. You had the great Edward Norton coming up in here, and hadn't seen him in a while, so it was good to see him up in something like this, a really high quality, and getting to see him act his ass off as we always do. And, you got Jessica Henwick up in here, Leslie Odom Jr. Let's see. Am I leaving anybody out? I forget the girl that plays Whiskey, but she was really good in this as well. I hadn't really seen her in too much before, but she was good in this for sure. And yeah, man. But this one having the whole mystery of the murder mystery party on the island of the eccentric billionaire, that being Edward Norton's character, and the whole mystery that comes about to where Benoit Blanc is invited, but not really invited to this whole murder mystery party, which all in and of itself is a whole big scheme and all this stuff, and the whole way of the characters all being friends from back in the day that went to a bar called the Glass Onion, and all the stuff that ensues, and the way that Rian Johnson just crafts the mystery of this film, and the way that he plays with the narrative storytelling and going non-linear to show you things that you've seen before from different perspectives, flashback scenes that give you different context from moments that you already saw in a new perspective or in a new light. It was just so effortless the way he tied all this stuff together in the plot, and the way that Benoit Blanc, while a little bit exposition heavy in the third act, I really did like the explanation of how he said who the killer's identity was, how they pulled the wool over everybody's eyes, and how they even took his own idea to do the actual murder that took place in the fucking movie for the most part. So that in and of itself was freaking funny, and it's pretty dope, man. Like, I really, really dug this movie. The humor is so on point. This one was definitely more comedic than the last one, but that definitely is not a bad thing in my eyes, because I love comedic movies, and this movie's humor was definitely on point, so I had a really good time with that. This was an awesome movie, man. A very, very satisfying sequel, and that is why Glass Onion comes in at number 9. So, getting into number 8, this was another one of my movies that was on the most anticipated list I probably had for myself going into 2022. Had a lot of emotions riding on this one, had a lot of attachment on this one, and we're talking about probably the best movie of Phase 4 in some people's minds, and might be, and I would say is in contention with No Way Home for one of the best, if not the best movie of Phase 4 in the MCU, but I would probably say second best, probably Black Panther Wakanda Forever. You know it had to be on the list, man. And this had a lot riding on it because it was a highly anticipated sequel to the cultural phenomenon that was the first Black Panther just a little over 4 years ago now. Almost 5 to the month since that original one came out with the late great Chadwick Boseman, who just absolutely commanded that role and made T'Challa an iconic character and will stand the test of time for years to come, and left his legacy in the MCU and much farther beyond that. But with his untimely passing back in 2020, I believe, and with that tragic passing to not just us fans and not just the public at large, but even the people in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at Disney, at Marvel Studios that work on the films, Ryan Coogler, the entire cast, Kevin Feige, everyone like that had no clue about his cancer diagnosis, and Chadwick Boseman and his family were just helping him along with that fight, and he was fighting that fight in silence, in the privacy of his own home with his own family, and was out there visiting cancer patients and actually trying to help them feel good and give back to the people going through a similar struggle as himself, but never let that be known to anyone. So that in and of itself was just so tragic, but just so like heart-wrenching, and brought so much emotion and so much attachment, even more so to the Black Panther franchise, and even so much more to the character of T'Challa and Black Panther himself. So there was a lot riding on this one. The whole cast and crew and all the fans were all grieving his loss, and have all had our own family members and loved ones that have passed on for the last couple years. So Wakanda Forever was a very, very cathartic experience for a lot of people out there, but especially for your boy right here. I had such a great time watching this movie, but also had such a unreal experience with this movie when it came to the grief and the loss and the heartbreak and the sorrow that was felt throughout the runtime of this movie, and especially in the very beginning when T'Challa actually passes away at the very beginning of the film, and they have his funeral and start mourning the loss of him all throughout the film, and it's a pivotal piece of the plot. And without that being in this movie, it completely changes the entire tone and vibe of this thing. And I love the way that they integrated everything like that going on, and putting that real life struggle and that real life emotion in just an emotion that everyone can universally relate to, and that's grief. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing that I think was just so powerful in the story of this movie. And when it comes to all the MCU stuff and all the more surface level comic book blockbuster stuff, they absolutely nailed that too. And first and foremost, I want to talk about Talokan. You know what I'm saying? The Talakanians over there in the MCU with Namor and his people, man. That whole entire underwater kingdom that they have set up and established, and the people of the Talakans is so damn awesome, man. Like I love the introduction of the people and the power set that they have to where they can almost be like sirens and drive people to almost essentially commit suicide and jump ship and things like that. Like hypnotize them. That was crazy. And the whole like water breathing devices that they have to like breathe on the surface was such a cool ass detail. The overall designs and how the people that are blue were actually the ones that are mutated and are actually mutants like Namor himself. That was very fucking interesting, man. And I can't get into this whole section of the film without talking about the main antagonist and the leader himself, Namor, man. Namor the Submariner, but in this, Namor introduced into the world of the MCU. So fucking awesome, man. Tenoch Huerta, Tenoch Huerta, I think that was better the second time. He did such a phenomenal job bringing Namor to life, man. You got past the funny looking flying wings on the feet, on the legs, man. When you seen what them motherfuckers can do in action, he was fucking up people in Wakanda, man. Like when the Talakans attack the Wakandans in Wakanda and flood that motherfucker, that shit was crazy, man. Straight out of the comics, man. Do more. Hit your boy up in the comments if you know what I'm talking about right there from all my Marvel comic nerds, man. But Wakanda Forever, man, such a fun time. And when you're talking about the Wakandans themselves, Okoye, Nakia, and of course Shuri and Queen Ramonda, absolutely killed it in that regard. Ryan Coogler did such a great job at writing amazing character arcs and amazing moments for those characters as well, and how the woman of Wakanda had to kind of take the lead in this film due to all the circumstances surrounding the previous movies and the real life tragedy. So love the way that they handled that, and the whole struggle that Shuri has to go on as a character and grieving the loss of her brother, but having to step up and take on the mantle of Black Panther was so well done also. And I really love the whole reveal of T'Challa having a son with Nakia and the way that they hid him after the whole thing with the snap and all that stuff several years later, because it takes place essentially the year that we're barely in is where we picked up an Endgame, and then now we're past that into 2025, 2026. So the MCU is a little bit ahead of us on some East Coast time shit, you know what I mean? But so that all went down, and I love the introduction of that because that creates a way for them to have a T'Challa Jr. in a sense, and to have a true life like Black Panther take on the mantle and kind of lead the charge in a similar fashion down the line with a recast of an older, younger man or something. So it's pretty cool to see how they kind of set that up, and didn't mean to spoil too much here, but just had to get into some of those really awesome details that really made me love the movie. So Black Panther Wakanda Forever, number 8. Love that movie, man. Awesome action. Good introduction to Ironheart. Not too much I can complain about other than just a little overstuffed, so couldn't get it over into that top 5. Number 8. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. So now we got to get some horror flavor up in this list for number 7, y'all. You know I couldn't go a whole list without having some horror up in here. And I'm talking about Ty West's second film of the year, the follow-up to X, the prequel as actually Pearl, man. This film was fucking incredible. And I got to say the main point and reason why was the amazing, breathtaking performance of Mia Goth. This woman was born to act. I'm telling you, she is one of the dopest young talents I've ever seen watching movies. Just the way she's able to transform into character is so impressive, especially here in the movie Pearl, where she gets this is like a showcase for her. This is like a whole hour and a half to almost 2-hour demo reel of the level of talent that she has, man. That ending sequence in the closing credits of her just sitting there smiling with tears running down her face, and the whole thing that she's doing there in and of itself is like, holy shit. And then the whole dark side of the character when it comes to Pearl is just as well done as the softer, more emotional side that she's bringing to this role. And it's so scary. She's so intimidating. She can be so creepy and so endearing, and you feel almost bad for her in a certain sense too. And it's just so amazing the way that Ty West was able to create the feel of the 1920s and of that era of when film was barely becoming a thing, and all that stuff, and the whole pandemic that was going on then that parallels to the whole entire 100 years later in the period of time that we just went through. So it's all very interesting, and I love the way that Ty West was bringing in some of these like realistic, more social elements into the film without being preachy, without trying to get a message over on people and stuff like that. But it was a lot of interesting themes, and and this is just one of those character studies through and through that is so well done and executed. It's never boring, and the only real aspect of the film that I have an issue with is I think they could have developed the sister-in-law, the husband, and the mother and father just a little bit more, just to kind of create a little bit more of that window dressing for the movie. But overall, it is so fucking well done, man. And the way that she just has to become famous is so well done and really parallels Maxine, the other character Mia Goth played in X, and the way that that all ties together in the follow-up that hopefully will be releasing this year in Maxine, which is going to be like kind of like the culmination of the trilogy and the sequel to X in and of itself, and Pearl as well. So it's going to be interesting to see where they take those things. It's supposed to take place in the 80s. So, hey, you never know. She might be a big star now. She might be on that, Jenna Jameson type stuff way before Jenna Jameson. So it's going to be interesting to see where Ty West take things in the future with it, man. But this film is just so incredible. The score, the kills, the tension, the atmosphere was just so well done. It's freaking palpable. I absolutely dug this movie so much. Pearl coming in number 7. So now we got to get into numero 6, man. And how could I talk about anything else but one of my personal favorite franchises? Had such a blast with this movie. Completely met my expectations. And I'm talking about that guy, not him. Ghostface up in this bitch, man. Scream 5 coming in at number 6. You know I had to, man. Had so much hype going into this movie. This was my most anticipated movie of the year, other than the one that's going to take my number 1 spot. So a lot of hype was going into this one, and I gotta say, my boys at Radio Silence, Tyler Open and Matt Bellinelli Open and Tyler Gillette, did such a fantastic job co-directing this movie and bringing the Scream franchise into the 2010s, 2020s, into the present, and having such witty horror commentary and legacy sequel commentary to go along with this movie in true Scream fashion, but also paid its respects to Wes Craven, Kevin Williamson, the creators, and what came before in the franchise, while not sacrificing doing something a little bit more fresh, while not trying to progress the story forward with a brand new cast of characters led by the two incredible co-final girls in my mind, in Sam Carpenter, played by Melissa Barrera, and her younger sister, Tara Carpenter, played by the amazing Jenna Ortega as well. And these two ladies did such a phenomenal job leading the charge of this movie and really putting that stamp forward and becoming the new, almost like Sydney and Gail kind of thing going on, in the sense of where they're not at each other's throats, but kind of the two leading heroines of the movie, you know what I'm saying? But in a new context, being kind of the co-final girls in this thing. And I just love the story that they told with these characters, in the way that Sam is actually Billy Loomis's daughter, when Billy Loomis back in 96, back in the late 90s when Scream, the original, took place, he actually went and got some nookie from over somewhere else because he was listening to too much Limp Bizkit, and he had to get it off because Sydney was being a little weird about it at that time, if y'all remember. And if you don't remember from the original Scream, now you know. She was, legs were not open for Sidney Prescott back in the original, back in her senior year of high school. So things were not going down. So Billy went and found it somewhere else, and that ended up being Sam and Tara Carpenter's mom, Miss Carpenter, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. But ended up being her. And then she ended up having Sam, and then she ended up keeping that secret. And then she ended up meeting Tara's father and ended up lying to Sam, telling her that was her father, not Billy Loomis, who got killed by Sidney Prescott in the original film. And you can only imagine how it was for her mother finding out not just that she was pregnant, but what actually happened to Billy Loomis and what he turned out to be as a person, and how he ended up being a serial killer and a crazy ass. That had to be completely crazy and shocking. It might have been part of the reason. And then with her husband leaving her, that she got with later, Tara's mom, because of what Sam found out in her diaries and all that, that probably drove her away. That was just a lot of compelling family drama that was much more palpable and not so melodramatic. It really made sense to why that conflict was there with Sam, and with the way that she felt about her past, and she felt she's kind of fucked up too. So I just think the way that they introduced those characters and really brought a real emotional center to this film really, really helps. And the way that they treated the legacy characters, I thought was really well done overall. I'm really bummed that a certain somebody named Dewey Riley died, God damn it. But I know we got to move forward. I know it was a good way to take him out if you're gonna do it. He has been attacked and stabbed in like every fucking movie they've ever done. So I guess at some point you got to kind of take him out. But I kind of wish they'd have took out Gale instead. But huge spoiler alert. But hey, this whole thing's got a spoiler alert, so be warned. But anyway, this was a really kick-ass movie. Liked all the introductions of the new characters. The Ghostface lines, having the original voice actor back, Roger Jackson, was so awesome, especially in that opening monologue or opening dialogue with Jenna Ortega as as Tara Carpenter in the opening scene. That was just so funny. The way they're talking about elevated horror and slasher movies and Stab and what her overall slasher knowledge is, and the whole thing with the webcam. I mean, with the camera showing where Amber's at and stuff, just showing like the new updated technology and the way that he's hacking into the apps and everything was really cool and kind of carries over from Scream 4, but kind of is a little bit more well executed in this one. Really dug that. That was fucking awesome. Really good kills in this. They don't reinvent the wheel, but it's really, really good. I just had a blast with this movie. The third act, while a little bit derivative of stuff we've seen in the past, I still had a blast with it, and I think that it can't be understated how Jack Quaid did a phenomenal job as Richie in both sides of the character, as the boyfriend and as the killer side once the reveal comes up. And I enjoy Amber Freeman's, I enjoy the performance of the actress that played Amber Freeman. I thought she was really good. So I dug Scream 5 a lot. It's one of my personal favorite movies of the year, and it's always going to have a special place in my heart, and just always going to be a fun movie. One of my favorite Scream sequels, coming in at 6. So now it's time to get into the top 5, man. And this top 5 is kind of crazy. There's a couple movies in there I would not have expected to be in there if you had told me when the year was barely starting out, especially one of them. And this one coming in at number 5 is going to be, this one's a little more expected and definitely was awesome to see in the theater. And finally, cool to see one of these movies in the theater. Clerks 3, man. Kevin Smith, latest film in the View Askew universe. We did a whole review series, by the way, on the channel of the View Askew movies leading up to the release of Clerks 3. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. We're going to have a card for that up here, and make sure you check out the ranking we did for that as well. Don't be sleeping on any of that. But Clerks 3, in and of itself, was a dope-ass movie, man. And I gotta say, it took me by surprise how emotional this movie got and how real this movie was, with the way that Dante ended up losing Becky and his daughter because she died during childbirth and stuff when she went into labor right before, or not too long after the end of Clerks 2. So for the past like 10 to 15 years, Dante has been dealing with this grief and dealing with that loss all this time, while they're still running the quick stop. Well, he's still running the quick stop with Randall, of course, and they're just doing the same old shit as they've always been doing. Elias works with him now, and he has some weirdo friend with him. And, things are just moving along and just doing the same old shit in New Jersey. Jay and Silent Bob opened up a dispensary at the old RTS Video next door, so that was pretty fun. And now they got it all legal and shit, so now they can do it, right? And Randall ends up having a heart attack at the beginning of this thing, and that kicks off this whole idea of him making the Clerks movie in the movie Clerks, which is freaking hilarious. It's a movie inside of a movie. Fourth wall break, and a fourth wall break, 16 walls, baby. If you know that quote, drop it down below where that came from. But getting back into Clerks 3, and the whole thing of Randall and Dante are kind of at odds when he's trying to make this movie, because Randall starts kind of acting like a dick and isn't really being sensitive or attentive to the things that Dante's been going through. And Dante can't even go back to the movies when they try to go film a scene there for the whole Clerks 2 segment of the film and all the stuff that went, all the crazy shit that went down there. And if you need more information on that, check out our Clerks 2 review, or go watch the movie and then check out the review. Either way you want to do it. Crazy shit going on in that movie. Love that one. But Dante can't even go back in there because he has too much like pent up feelings and history there. And he's like, I can't do it. And then Randall talks shit to him later. And then freaking Brian O'Halloran's monologue that he goes on, where he just yells at freaking Randall and just serves his hat to him. God damn. Crazy shit, man. Like, just amazing acting on that part. And the whole way that this film just it gets all comedic and fun when they're making the movie. Jay and Silent Bob are terrible actors and stuff, but the whole way that this movie just shifts in tone dramatically into the more dramatic drama elements without seeming forced, and just seeming so damn organic to the story in a similar way that it always does with Randall and Dante near the end of every Clerks movie and in the third act of every Clerks movie. But the way that it goes to where Dante gets sick and he ends up passing away. And then Randall's the one that had a near death experience. And now he's left alone and he never even got to repair his friendship with Dante. It's just so damn heartbreaking. And I can completely relate to not being able to say goodbye to a loved one that you lose suddenly. So it was just a very powerful thing in the movie. And the whole scene with him talking to Becky in the little movie theater and stuff, and then them going into the light and leaving the theater in like kind of like in a metaphorical way of him going to the light and him stepping away and going to a better place, as we normally say, was just so beautiful, man. Like the way Kevin Smith was able to just build you up, have fun, remind you of all that nostalgia from the View Askew universe, but then tear your heart out and make you really feel some raw emotion was just really well done. This is definitely one of Kevin Smith's best written movies, in my opinion. And I know this one was a little bit mixed for some people, and it was kind of like a mixed reception, and some people ended up, unfortunately, hating it and were very disappointed by it, but I'm definitely not one of those people. I love Clerks 3. That's why it is coming in number 5 in my top 10 list here. Now let's get into number 4, and this is definitely the biggest surprise of the year, or the second or third biggest surprise of the year. Like this whole rest of this top 3 or 5 right here, minus the first one that's taking the top spot, was a huge major surprise for me. And the one coming in right here at number 4 is Top Gun Maverick. Yo, this film has been one of the most hyped up films of the past year in 2022. Everybody and their grandma and their dog love this fucking movie. I didn't hear one person yet that has said they don't like this movie. It is insane. And I gotta say, I'm a part of the fucking I'm all on the bandwagon. This film is fucking awesome. I love this movie. I literally just got done watching it before I did this ranking. And that goes to show you how powerful this movie is. I was hooked from the first sequence of him just trying to go Mach 10. Like, from the first fucking sequence in the movie. I've never seen Top Gun, by the way, the 1986 original. Never seen more than a scene. I do know the characters. I do know the overall premise. I know what happens to Goose. I do know some of the aspects of the movie because it's so iconic at this point. And I know that's where Tom Cruise got his whole blockbuster career start right there in 86 with that movie, directed by the late, great Tony Scott. Rest in peace to him. Always made kick-ass movies. But yeah, man. So I had no previous affiliation or attachment. Sorry, not affiliation. I had no previous attachment to the Top Gun franchise now that it is a franchise, or the original film, whatever. This movie is fucking incredible. It hooks you from the beginning and never lets you go. The action, of course, is fucking stellar. The performances are fucking stellar, man. Like Tom Cruise, Miles Teller, damn, I'm forgetting some of the other people, man. Jennifer Connelly up in here. God damn it, Glenn Powell. He did such a phenomenal job as well. John Hamm was up in this thing. And you had the great Val Kilmer back on screen in an on-screen role as Iceman. Even with his whole throat disease or throat cancer or the whole thing that's going on with him health-wise, he came back and even had speaking lines for this thing. So that goes to show you the level of commitment that people put into this movie when they were making it. And this goes to show you why Tom Cruise was yelling at everybody when they were on set, not wearing their mask and shit, getting everybody sick, because he's like, hey, we're trying to make fucking magic here. Get your fucking mask on. I can see he was all in and they were invested in this movie, man. And this movie is just spectacular, dude. You feel all the emotion. You feel there's so many great character arcs in here between Miles Teller's character of Rooster, the character of Hangman, played by Glenn Powell, and of course, Captain Mitchell, aka Maverick, played by Tom Cruise. And Tom Cruise ain't missed a step, man. It just seems like he's getting better with age. He was so great in this movie. I love the way that his character has evolved from being the cocky guy to being a little bit more reserved and humble, but at the same time, he still has that Maverick energy to him that is known from the character's reputation preceding him of the original movie. So really dug the way they did that, and I think they did a great job at bridging his character from the first film to this film, from what I know, and it felt very organic to what that character has kind of become known to be. And the whole arc and the whole storyline with Rooster's dad being Goose, and the whole way that he died in action, and the whole grief and guilt that Tom Cruise's character of Maverick has felt all these years really, really rings true, and really, you can't help but feel for him, man, and you can't really help but feel for both sides and get where both people are coming from, but they both need to move forward and need to be able to move on from the past and let go, but never forget of the love that their buddy and their father had for them both, and all that good jazz. And it's crazy because Miles Teller is the kid in the original film that was right there hanging with them at the bar when they're singing Sweet Balls of Fire or whatever, Great Balls of Fire, you know what I mean. But It was really great, man. Like, this film was just so incredible and really just swept me away on an adventure and made me feel all the emotions between, laughter, excitement, you know, I damn near teared up in this movie a couple times, man. Like, this movie was so damn awesome. It was so well done. Definitely one of the best films of the year, bar none, no matter what, objectively, in my opinion. But definitely had to be on this list. And after taking some consideration and looking at some of these other movies, man, the way that this hit me in the feels and how it's so well done and is literally one of the best movies I've seen in years. It really is a fucking amazing movie, man. Like, it really is. I definitely am all in on this one. Coming in at number 4, Top Gun Maverick. Awesome fucking movie. Number 3 is going to be my personal favorite horror movie of the year. This fucking movie blew me away and just totally took me on an unexpected, fucked up journey. Barbarian, man. Zach Cregger's Barbarian came out right before the spooky season, or late summer, right before spooky season this past year. And goddamn, it took the horror community by storm and is one of the most well-done horror films I've seen in years. And once again, this is one of the few movies I will not spoil here in what is exactly going on. All I'm going to tell you is 2 people book an Airbnb, a man and a woman, one being the character of Keith, played by the fantastic Bill Skarsgård, and one being Tess, played by Georgina Campbell, a fairly newcomer, a British actress. She's really, really good in this thing, and they booked the same Airbnb, unbeknownst to each other somehow online. They end up at the same place, and they have to stay with each other, and then from there on out, the movie just creepier and weirder and gets more fucked up and just completely takes you in unexpected directions the entire fucking time. And this movie also stars one of my personal favorite actors and one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood today. You heard it here first. Justin Long, baby, is AJ, the character of AJ. And when the movie just gets into like halfway through and just switches to his character, and it takes you on this whole other side of the journey that gives you a whole new perspective going into everything. Wow, that took me by surprise. And his whole entire role in this movie is something much different than what he's normally known for playing, if you're familiar with Justin Long's work. So that's another thing for some of y'all to look forward to, man. But yeah, the scares in this movie are so well done. The actual, violence or effects or the kills and what have you, fucking awesome, very well done. The tension is palpable in this thing. You are on the edge of your seat. Once the creepy shit starts getting into effect, you are on the edge of your seat from beginning to end, and you will never be able to know what's coming next. You never know what's around the corner. This movie is all sorts of fucked up, but the all right sorts of fucked up, It's a fucking awesome movie. I don't know how Zach Cregger came up with this idea, but he absolutely killed it. Love this movie. Man, there's not too much I want to get into because I want to leave it fresh for y'all. I want you to go in blind on this one, but this movie is one of my personal favorites of last year. Top 3, Barbarian, man. Fucking great film. But it's time for us to get into the top 2, and this movie right here is the most unique movie I have seen, potentially ever. One of the most unique movies I've ever seen, I guess you could say. Not ever, but one of the most unique movies I've seen. The most unique movie of last year, and definitely deserves Best Picture in my mind. It is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, starring the great Ke-Huy Quan, and of course, y'all know her, y'all love her if you're like me, and if you know what's up with the great actors of the Eastern of the East, man. I'm talking about the great Michelle Yeoh coming up in here. This film was directed by a directing duo of the Daniels, and I don't know how the hell these fools came up with this multiversal idea, but this shit blew my mind in all the best ways possible. I love how this film, at the core of it, is all about the dynamics of a family and the whole entire dynamic of a family and how a family can grow apart and what a family needs to do to stick together and what different sides of different people in the family really are when they explore different avenues in life and just all the different possibilities and questions that you have and all these things and the way that they're able to access skills and memories from all these different alternate versions of themselves is just so fucking amazing. And the visuals in this film are such a mind fuck. That's all I gotta say. The visuals and the choreography and the action scenes in this movie are a mindfuck. It's like John Woo met up with Jackie Chan, met up with John Wick, and took acid, and they created the fight choreography that's in this movie, man. You got dildos going up asses while people are still fighting. It's like, what the fuck just happened? But I'm all in on this thing. I'm telling you. And the acting is phenomenal from everyone across the board. Like I said, Michelle Yeoh is great as always. When is she ever bad in a movie anyway? But I got to say, the return of Ke-Huy Quan, you know what I'm saying, from back in the freaking early mid 80s as Short Round and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. He has come so far as an actor, and it's great to see him back up in the scene and coming onto the scene with a movie like this, where he gets to be a complete badass and play all these different sides to the character and really showcase his talent as an actor and as a performer. So really, really dug him in this movie, and just everyone in general. And the overall villain in the film that's played by the daughter, I can't remember the actress's name right now. I'm gonna flash it on the screen or something. She was fucking dope. I thought she absolutely killed the role. She was really, really awesome. And the way that this film is able to play with your expectations and play with science fiction, and the way that it plays with these unconventional norms of like fiction and things like that, and the way that it's always able to keep you on your toes and swerve you into a direction or do something so weird there's no way for you to see it coming. Just from the overall comedy to the overall seriousness of how like metaphorical and how like just out there it gets with this ideas is so damn refreshing and entertaining, but it never gets too weird to where it takes away from you being able to get into the film and follow along with what's going on in the film. Really, really love this movie. It is absolutely phenomenal, man. I loved it to death. I can't wait to buy it on 4K and own it on the shelf. I love this movie, man. And if you haven't seen everything everywhere all at once, you need to immediately. This is one of the best films made in years. This was definitely one of the best films that came out last year. And in my mind, if I was on the Academy in Hollywood, I'd be voting for this movie all day in every category possible. Everything everywhere all at once is fucking amazing. Watch it if you haven't, and if you do, and if you love it as much as I do, let me know in those comments. Everything everywhere all at once, numero dos, coming in at number 2. Just the runner-up at the top spot. If it wasn't for me loving this other movie and franchise dearly, Everything Everywhere All at Once would have took the cake. But the movie that's going to have to take the top spot for me personally, if I got to keep it real, and you know I got to keep it real, if you know your boy Kenny, man, The Batman, Matt Reeves, The Batman, is taking the top spot of my list. And for those that know me personally, you can't be too surprised. I absolutely love the character of Batman. I own a bunch of Batman comics right there on the shelf. Always loved Batman ever since I can remember, whether it was the animated series to the Dark Knight trilogy to everything in between. I love Batman, obviously, and that is like my favorite DC character. Always been more of a Marvel guy, but I still got a lot of love for DC, especially the Batman corner of the DC universe. And I gotta say, Matt Reeves' vision for the Batman to me is fucking awesome. It isn't for everybody, that is for sure. I've shown it to friends and family, and it isn't for everybody. But for me personally, that always wanted to see a very dark, gritty, detective, like crime, murder, mystery version of Batman, this totally scratched that itch for me. And I thought they did a phenomenal job with Robert Pattinson's Batman. For sure. I thought he fit the role perfectly of Batman, or at least this version of it. You know what I'm saying? But just that detective kind of gritty side of Batman, I thought he fit the role very well. I think other actors came into this movie and completely killed it and almost stole the show from him, honestly, at certain times, i.e. being Colin Farrell's Penguin or Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. I thought they both were phenomenal in their roles, and to me are some of the best versions of the character. And if it wasn't for Michelle Pfeiffer existing as Catwoman, Zoe Kravitz would far and away take the cake. But in my mind, Colin Farrell is the best Penguin we've ever had, bar none. I don't care what anybody says. And the fucking Batmobile in and of itself was fucking awesome. Dopest Batmobile ever, in my humble opinion. Fucking awesome. It's just a souped up muscle car. I loved it. And the overall sound design they had for the car, it was like Christine, like fucking on steroids or something. It's fucking sick, man. I love the car. It was fucking awesome. Batmobile's dope. There's just so many dope sequences in this film, and the way that the murder mystery is just so well detailed and involved in the movie, and the way that it's really a mystery first and foremost. There's action in the movie. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's romance. There's the typical things that come into a Batman movie, but they never sacrifice the mystery. They never sacrifice the tone and the atmosphere for that stuff. So I love how they're able to integrate both of those things so seamlessly in this movie, man. And from start to finish, I was just riveted with this movie the first time I watched it. Didn't go to the bathroom when I watched it in the theater. I sat there for all 2 hours and 40-some minutes, and I took this movie in and fucking loved every second of it. I love Paul Dano's version of the Riddler. I thought he was dope. I thought he brought his own flavor to the character while also staying true to it and staying true to some of the darker versions of the character in like the Arkham games and things like that, but took it to a whole nother Zodiac fucked up level. And I just really dug his performance. I thought it was funny. I thought it was creepy. And I thought it was intriguing. And I liked the overall character's intelligence and the riddles and all that and the puzzles coming first and foremost. So I thought they did a great job with the Riddler while keeping the essence of the character that's there, but also adding some new stuff. I absolutely loved it. The score from Michael Giacchino, fucking awesome. Love the whole freaking theme, like doom, 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 doom. Like it's just fucking sick, dude. Like, and the whole way that they implemented that, and like the Batmobile chase and all these other cool scenes, and the way that they changed that up with the different pitch and different instrumentation depending on what was going on in the scene. So sick, man. I absolutely love the score. Michael Giacchino comes in again and kills it. And my boy Matt Reeves just ain't missed yet. He ain't made one single bad movie, dude. I tell you, this guy's going to go down as one of the best directors of this time. I absolutely love his vision for the Batman universe. I hope he gets to do all the spinoffs with the Penguin and the Arkham Asylum like he wanted to do on HBO Max or whatever. They better keep that in there. James Gunn, Peter Safran, I'm watching you. Don't fuck with the Batman universe. Don't fuck with that. Don't fuck with that. I'm watching y'all. But I absolutely love this movie. The only thing I say they could improve for sure, I think Robert Pattinson's version of Bruce Wayne needs to be improved and a little more fleshed out in the sequel. You know what I'm saying? And that's the one element that I was kind of missing with this one. But I totally understood the vision. He wanted him to be Batman first and foremost, more obsessed with that thing. So I got what they were doing. But I think in the next one, they definitely need to balance those things out just to kind of make it a little bit more of the traditional Batman film mixed in with the same flavor and tone that he's going for. You know, don't go too far away because I'm of the mind, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So don't fuck with it too much, but I think they could tinker with the Bruce Wayne side of the character and up the ante a little bit there. But that's pretty much it for me, guys, on this top 10. The Batman has to take the top spot right there. But just a quick rundown. The Batman at number 1. Everything Everywhere All at Once at number 2. Barbarian at number 3. Clerks 3. Top Gun Maverick at number 4. Clerks 3 at number 5. Scream 5 at number 6. Ty West is Pearl at number 7. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever at number 8. Glass Onion at number 9. And last, but certainly not least, coming in at number 10, Avatar, The Way of Water. And that pretty much does it right here for my top 10 movies of 2022, y'all. Now we're getting into 2023 full on, y'all. We're going to have just 2 more rankings for you, our top 10 anticipated movies and TV series TV series of the year of 2023, and then we're going to get into all the regular reviews, recaps, all that stuff, because you have That 90s Show, That 70s Show follow-up show coming on Netflix on the 19th, so we're going to have a review for that as soon as possible after that drops, and we also got The Last of Us coming on HBO Max week to week, starting on the 15th of this month, so me and my boy Skippy are definitely going to be covering that series like we did with Andor, House of the Dragon, so we're going to be doing that week to week, for the most part, as long as our plans stick as we like them to. So scheduling to be determined for sure, but we should be able to do those every Sunday or Monday, something like that. We'll keep you posted, but we got a lot of cool stuff coming for that. I got some horror movie content coming for y'all as well, and we're going to have some modern releases coming out, some Netflix movies and things like that. So make sure you stay tuned and don't sleep on any of the dopeness. We got our music podcast, Fandom FM, that just dropped over the last holiday season in December, and we're going to have 2 episodes per month every single month this year and for the foreseeable future, our music, audio-focused podcast. Go check that out, Fandom FM, on our podcast feed. All the links are in the description. But thank you very much for watching this video. I appreciate each and every one of you for checking this out. And we hope you stick around and subscribe for all the dope content we have in 2023, because there's nowhere to go but up. And without you beautiful people, we would go nowhere. So thank you for joining. We're almost at 200 subs. We're going to keep this thing going, and we're going to keep going until we got 1 million subs. You know what I mean? The sky is the limit here at Phantom Frequency. Much love to you for checking this out. Make sure you stay tuned. You don't sleep. And hopefully we'll see you again real soon. And for those of you that already are coming back regularly, much love. We'll see you again real soon. Take care. Peace.